Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Kuf Lamed Daled Amud Beis at the very top, the new Mishnah. The first half of our Mishnah is discussing the permissibility of bathing regarding Mila on Shabbos. The second half of the Mishnah discusses Safek Mila on Shabbos. Says the Mishnah, Marchitzin es hakoton bein lifnei hamila bein la'achar hamila. We may bathe the child both before and after the Mila when it comes out to be on Shabbos. Now before the Mila was to strengthen the body of the Nimol, to prepare him for the Bris Mila. After the Mila is to bathe the baby, the child, in order to then give him refuah. So the nafka mina would be that before the Bris Mila, we're talking about that water which was heated up before Shabbos. But since after the Mila is an issue of pikuach nefesh, therefore even regards to heating up water on Shabbos, one can bathe the baby. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah oimer marchitzin es hakoten bayom hashlishi shechal liyois b'Shabbos. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is of the opinion that when the Shabbos comes out to be the third day of the Bris Milah, then you can even bathe the baby then. So Shaila doesn't mean to say that only the third day, because that's the most painful and most, therefore, dangerous day for the child, or does it mean the third day in Kol Shekain, the days before? Shenemar brings a pasuk, Vayihi bayam hashlishi b'yoisem koyavim, that Levi and Shimon, they persuaded Shechem to have the entire city give a bris milah to all of the men in the city, whereby on the third day Levi and Shimon came and they then killed out the entire city. So here it indicates that indeed the third day was a painful day, a day of sakana. And again, the Rishonim dan on whether this means dafka the third day, and therefore they only wait till the third day, or it means no, that it's even the second day, but they wait till the third day, so they become even more tired and even more in pain, so that they can go ahead and destroy the city of Shechem. The Mishnah now turns gears and talks about Safek v'androginius, ein mechalin es haShabbos. Safek over here, some Mefarshim explains, referring to the 8th month. We know that a child, in times of Chazal, if he was born in the 7th month or the 9th month, it was to be a viable child. But in the 8th month, that's already considered to be a child that has no chiyus, and therefore there's a suffix whether this child was born on the 8th month or in the 9th month. And therefore it's a suffix whether the Mila would be doiches haShabbos. And therefore the Tanna Kama says not doiche the Shabbos for such a suffix. Androgynous is a child that has both simonim of a male and a female. And therefore the Tanna Kama says, a mechalnes haShabbos, you're not allowed to then give a bris milah to the androgynous because he has a status of a suffix. Rabbi Yehuda muter ba'androgynous. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda, he's matir an androgynous because he says that we have a pasuk that indicates that even a androgynous who has both the simon of a male and a female, we give a milah to, and that's doiches Shabbos. Says the Gemara, asking the following question: V'ha'amris reisha marchitzin. You said in the beginning, the Tana taught us we may bathe the child on Shabbos when indeed the milah comes out to be on Shabbos. Yet the Mishnah goes on to say that according to the Tanna Kama, umezalfin Allah biyad avlo b'kli. You have to do it with the shinui, with your hand by sprinkling the water, and not with a kli. So after all, what exactly is the kavana over here in our Mishnah? Answers the Gemara, Rav Yehuda, Rabbi Ravua, the Amrei Travai, they both said the following explanation of our Mishnah. Keitzad kitoni. Our Mishnah was coming to mafaresh the ratio of the Mishnah. Marchitzin es hakoton bein lifnei mila bein la'achar mila. The ratio says, according to Tanna Kama, we may bathe the child both before the Mila and after the Mila when it comes out to be on Shabbos. And the Mishnah goes on to say, Ketzad, how? In which way are we able to bathe the child? Mezalfin Allah biyad avlo bekli. We sprinkle water on the child with our hands and not with a kli. Omar Rava asked, if that's so, marchitzin ketani. But our Mishnah says that we are bathing, we may bathe the child. It doesn't say that we're only mezalfin. Marchitzin is mashma, that there's a bathing over here. Why does the Tana Kama begin with the word marchitzin? Elo Omar Rava hachi ketani. Rather, Rava says this is how you have to teach the Mishnah. Marchitzin es hakoten beim milifnei mila beim lachar mila bayom harishon kedarkoi. What the Tanakam meant to say is that in regards to marchitzin, bathing the child normally, that you can do both regularly or with a shinui. It doesn't have to be. Even in a regular situation, you can bathe the child on the first day when Shabbos comes out to be on the 8th day of when the 8th day of the child is born on the mila itself. By Yom HaShlishi, however, when it comes to the third day, Shechal Liyos b'Shabbos, Mizalfin Aliyal Alam Biyad Avalo B'Kli. But Tanakama says, but if it's the third day, that third day, he says, you can only do with a shinui, with your hand and not using a kli, by sprinkling the water on the child. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah oimer marchitin zakotin by Yom HaShlishi Shechal Liyos b'Shabbos. Whereas Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah argues and says, no, you can bathe the child regularly on the third day as well. Shneimar brings a pasuk. Vayi bayam hashlishi, was on that third day of the Milah. Biyoisem kayavim, when all of the people of Shechem were in pain, and that's when Levi and Shimon came out to destroy the city. Tanya kavose de Rav. And the Gemara brings a brisa, the way Rava just explained our Mishnah, that the Tanakama says you could, yes, marchitzin the first day regularly. It's only the third day that becomes problematic, where you have to do a shinui, because it's not considered to be a sakon according to the Tanakam, and that's why you have to mezalfin biyad v'lo b'kli. And here's the brisa: marchitzin hakoton bein lifnei mila, bein la'achar mila, b'yom rishon kedarkoi. Just as Rava explained, that one is able to then, according to the Tanakama, you can even be marchitz. We may bathe the child during the first day, whether it's before or after the Milah. Ubayom HaShlishi Shechal Liyos b'Shabbos Mizalfin Alov Biyad. However, if it's the third day that comes out to be on Shabbos, then you're only permitted to then sprinkle water on the child with your hand, with a shinui. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah oimer marchitzin zakotin bayom HaShlishi Shechal Liyos b'Shabbos. He says you can go ahead and bathe the child regularly on that third day. The Bryce goes on to say, even though we have no proof explicitly, but we do have a remez. Shneimar says, "Vayhi bayom hashlishi biyoisem koyavim," was the third day when the town of Shechem was in great pain. The Bryce concludes, "Ukeshehem mezalfin, ein mezalfin lo bekois v'lo bekaro v'lo bekli ela biyad." The conclusion of the Bryce is that when you do then mezalfin, when you do sprinkle the water on the child, it must be with one's hand, not with a kli, not with a bowl, and not with a cup. The Gemara points out, Ason l'Tanakama, that latter statement that we just made now in regards to mezalfin, sprinkling the water with one's hand, that goes back to the opinion of the Tanakama. Ask the Gemara, "My afal pisha ein raya ledovar, zeichel ledovar." Why does the Brisa say we don't have a raya, we don't have a full proof, we only have a zeicher ledavar? L'chara, it appears to be from this statement in the pasuk that it's a clear proof that the third day they were koyavim, and therefore the most painful day, it's a state of sakana. Answers the Gemara, it's only a remez because mishum de gadol lasolig bistra hayo, because an adult, so his skin doesn't repair, doesn't heal quickly. Mashenken a cotton solik be bisra haya, whereas a cotton skin does heal quickly, and therefore they wouldn't have an explicit raya, because they were talking about the city of Shechem, we're talking about gedolim, we're talking about adults, and therefore wouldn't it be exact proof in regards to a child who's having a bris milah on the 8th day? Says the Gemara, who also kamei de Rava, there was a question in regards to making rechitza on Shabbos for a milah, and that question was asked to Rava. Ori le kishmaitze, and Rava, he paskined like he stated before, the way he understood the Tanakama, that it's mutter to be marchitz the first day regularly. Ichlish Rava, Gemara tells us that Rava became sick, became weak and sick. Omar, he said to himself, Ano, bahadi tagemina desabi lamali. Why did I interfere with the way, the interpretation of the elderly sages, the way they explain the Mishnah? Because they explain the Mishnah that by saying that the Tanakama holds that you can only be mizalfin. In other words, mizalfin is coming to explain the marchitzin. You can never bathe regularly on the first day. You can only do sprinkling, and that sprinkling has to be biyad with a shinui. Says the Gemara, Amru le Rabban le Rava, but the Rabban turned to Rava, v'hatanya kavosei tamar. But the Bryce is explicitly like you, that indeed the Tanakama also says if it's the first day, you can be marchitzin. Omar lehu masnisin kavasai daika. He says because the Mishnah itself is meduyak, like the opinion of the elderly sages, the way they explain the Mishnah, Rav Yehuda and Rabbi Baravua. Midika Omar, Mimai, asking Omar, how is it meduyak like them? Midika Omar, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Oimer marchitzin zakotin bayom hashlishi shchalios b'Shabbos. From the fact that the Mishnah states that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says that on the third day you go ahead and marchitzin regularly on Shabbos, the child. If you want to say that the Tanakama is talking about the way they explain the Tanakama, that's talking about mizalfin, then we understand where Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is coming to say that marchitzin is mutter. You don't have to just sprinkle. We may bathe regularly. But if you're going to say that Tanakama is interpreted the way I wanted to say, that the first day we may bathe the child, the third day then we have to only be mezalfin, we have to sprinkle the water, then Hi Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah oimer marchitzin, af marchitzin mi boile. Then Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah should have said even marchitzin, because he would be adding on to what the Tanakama said. Kiyos Rav Dimi, Rav Elazar. The Gemara now says that Rav Dimi said name Rabbi Elazar the psak halacha. He said halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Indeed, halacha Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that on the third day one may bathe the child regularly without a shinui and with hot water. Havu b'ma'arava. They pondered. They thought about the following question in the West, in Eretz Yisrael: Harchatzas kol gufoy or harchatzas mila? That which we just said, Allah Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that one may bathe the child regularly. Does that mean the entire body, or just that means the makom of the mila? Omar lo huahu merabbanon Rabbi Yaakov Shmei. One of the Rabbanon said the following, whose name was Rabbi Yaakov: Mistabra harchatzas kol gufoy. It's mistabra to say that indeed he's referring to the entire body that can be bathed regularly. Why? Because if it's only referring to the bathing of the makam of the milah, that's what Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah said one can do regularly on the third day. Then migar mechamin al gabe makkah. Why would this be any different than putting hot water that was heated up before Shabbos on a wound? It's no different than any other wound. Dom Rav ein moinin chamin shehukma b'Shabbos l'chamin shehukma b'erev Shabbos. Sorry, ein moinin chamin v'shemen me'al gabi makkah b'Shabbos. Because Rav said we don't hold back putting hot water, of course, that was heated up before Shabbos, and oil on a wound on Shabbos. We say that mitzad refuah we're able to do that. So then, why would a makom mila be different? Elamai, it must be that we're talking about that when Elazar ben Azariah said you can go ahead and bathe the child, he meant the entire goof. Masik Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef asked the following question. You have no proof to say we're talking about the entire body. Because v'lo shani loch bein chamin shehuchma b'Shabbos l'chamin shehuchma be'erev Shabbos. Do you not make the distinction between that which heat up before Shabbos and that which heat up on Shabbos? In other words, that which we just quoted that says that one can put hot water on a wound on Shabbos, that's talking about that was hot water that was heated up before Shabbos. But we're discussing over here by Mila, hot water that's heated up on Shabbos. So maybe there only you can put it on the Makam Mila and not on the entire goof. Maski Flo Ravdimi asks, who's to say that we're arguing about over here in our Mishnah in regards to Mila of Chamin that was Huchma on Shabbos? Dilma Bechamin Huchma Me'erev Shabbos Pligi? Maybe we're talking about water that was heated up before Shabbos. Omar Abaye said, Ano boy the Ishnile. I also wanted to then explain the same way that Rav Yosef did. V'kodem v'shani le Rav Yosef mimnei shasakana hiloi. And Rav Yosef, he preceded me by saying that it's a sakana to the child, and therefore we're talking about heating up the water even on Shabbos. And therefore, again, the question still stands, are we talking about the Makom Mila or even bathing the entire goof? Itmar Nami, we also have another statement from the Amoraim, Ki Osir Avin Amar B'Yabo, Amar B'Yalozar, V'Amar B'Yabo, Amar B'Yochanan. They made the following statement. Halacha Kirabi Elazar ben Azariah, Bein Bechamin Shehuchmo B'Shabbos, Bein Bechamin Shehuchmo Be'erev Shabbos, whether it was heated up on Shabbos or before Shabbos. Bein harchatzes kol gufoy, bein harchatzes mila mimnei shesakana hi loy. So here we have a conclusion from the name of Rabbi Yochanan that indeed we're talking about chamin that was huchmu on Shabbos, it was heated up on Shabbos, and indeed we're talking about you can even bathe the child regularly, the entire goof. And according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who the halacha is like, we're talking about even on the third day. Kol shekain on the first day, and we said it's a machlok rishonim, if that second day is also a kosherkin, it's even more, or just, if not more, painful and more of a sakana the second day, or not, dafka the third day. Gufa, the Gemara brings back the previous statement, Omar Rav ein moinin chamin v'shemen me'al gabe maka b'Shabbos. We don't hold back from putting hot water, again that was heated up before Shabbos, or oil on a wound on Shabbos. Ushmul Amar noisin chutz lamaka. Shmuel argues on Rav and says you have to put the oil or the hot water outside, next to the makkah, not on the makkah itself. V'shoy says v'yor lamaka, and then it will drip down, it will flow down into where the makkah is. So Shmuel argues and says it's a problem of refuah on Shabbos if you put it directly on the makkah. Meisvei asked the Gemara, Ein noistin shemen v'chamin al gabe moich liten al gabe makkah b'Shabbos. One may not put the oil or hot water on a moich, on a soft beged, which is on top of the makkah. So you see, not like Rav, because Rav said that you couldn't put it. You can, yes, put it directly on the makkah. So this seems to be support Shmuel against Rav. Answers the Gemara, Hasam mishum schita. The reason why you cannot do that is because the moich will absorb the hot water, the oil, and then you could go ahead and be soichet. And that's an Isser on Shabbos. Toshma, the Gemara wants to prove again a question on Rav and a support for Shmuel. It says in the Brisa, Ein noistin chamin v'shamin al gabe moich shal gabe makkah b'Shabbos. If you have a moich that's sitting on the makkah, you can't place hot water or oil on that moich. So you seem to see over here, not like Rav, that you're not allowed to put it on the makkah. And like Shmuel says, you'd have to put it on the side, outside of the makkah, to let it then flow into the makkah. Answers the Gemara the same answer. Hasam nami mishum schita. There also, it's because of schita. That's why you cannot put it on the moich. Tanya kavasi de Shmuel. The Gemara now brings a brisa like Shmuel that states that you cannot put the hot water, the oil, directly on the makkah. Ein noisn cham v'shem al gabi makkah b'Shabbos, aval noisn chutz l'makkah v'shoyses v'yori l'makkah. Just as Shmuel said, you'd have to put it outside of the makkah and let it flow into the makkah, because otherwise it's a problem of refuah on Shabbos. Tanu Rabbanon, the Gemara brings the following brisa. Noistin al gabe hamake moich yavish v'svoig yavish. One may place on top of a wound a dry moich, a dry beged, and a dry sponge. Avaloi gemi yavish v'lo kisisin yaveshin, but not a reed, a soft reed which is dry, and not a worn out beged, pieces of beged that are also dry. Now, that's because the gemi and the kisisin, they have a medicinal effect. They bring refuah on top of the makkah, and therefore those are prohibited. Kasha kasisin akasisin. Ask the Gemara, but we have a steer within this brisa of kasisin and kasisin, because the reish of the brisa is mashma that you could put, rather, and the sefer is mashma you cannot. So we have a steer over here. Since the reish of the brisa is a moich yavesh, which is really kasisin, says you're permitted to put. Yet the end of the brisa says kasisin yavesh, and you cannot put. Answers the Gemara. It depends on the ksisin that we're talking about. Lo kasha ha bechadeti habatik. If it's new ksisin, then that new ksisin that was not very used before, that has the effect to then heal, and therefore that is going to be prohibited. But if it's going to be an old ksisin, then that's mutter. Omar Abaye, shmamino hani ksisin mostu. We can derive from this that the new ksisin are indeed healing a person's wound, and therefore we see from here that would be prohibited to put on Shabbos.